everyone, welcome to Cooking with Countryside. Today we're going to be making butternut squash fries, and I'm very excited about this. I actually found this recipe on Instagram from Feel Good Foodie, and so although I did not make it, it sounds delicious and it features the butternut squash, which you can find at the market. So that's what we're going to make today. So the butternut squash is the only thing you'll need from the market, and then some other things you'll need are cornstarch, olive oil, and then a few different spices. So your salt and your pepper. I'm gonna use dried thyme, garlic powder, paprika, but you can change the spices and herbs to whatever you have and whatever taste you are going for. So if you want a little bit more spicy, you could add maybe some cumin or some red pepper flakes, or if you wanted it super garlicky, you could add some kind of garlic and herb salt. So the first step, I preheated my oven to 425, so now I'm going to just cut up the squash. So first I always just cut off the ends first. And we're gonna peel the outside, so you have two choices. You can either cut it with a knife and peel it off, or use a vegetable peeler. I normally go for the vegetable peeler. And so we're gonna bake the fries without the skin, because we're gonna cut them into fry shapes ahead of time. So we can go ahead and peel the skin right off. And you could try this with any squash. It doesn't have to be butternut squash. I'm just using butternut squash because it's one of my favorites. And when they come out, they're kind of gonna look like sweet potato fries. So maybe you can trick someone that maybe claims that they don't like squash and be like, oh, it's a sweet potato, and see what they think. It's not gonna taste like a sweet potato though. But that's kind of the glory of squash, is that they are so versatile. So fries, I kind of think, are like a junk food, you know? So these fries are gonna be baked. So that's gonna make it a little bit healthier, a little bit better for you. And if you're making your fries at home and you have an air fryer, you could try popping these in the air fryer too. That's gonna taste really good. Just gonna get a little more. Squash is peeled. Now I will just get these peelings out of the way, and then the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it in half, and we are going to scoop out the seeds. And if your butternut squash has a longer neck than mine does, you can just cut off the neck and then cut it in half. So you're working with a little less surface area when you're trying to scoop out the seeds. But I have like a larger spoon. It's kind of like a serving spoon. I'm just gonna use that to scoop it out. So the next step is going to be cutting the squash into fry shapes. Okay, so we're just gonna cut these by hand into thin strips. Try to make them as uniform in size as you can, because then they'll all cook the same. But if some are a little bit bigger than the others, they don't have to be perfect. So probably about this size. So as I'm cutting them, I'm gonna have to cut them in half again to make them a little bit thinner, and that's okay. Okay, and then I'm just gonna repeat that process with the rest of them. Okay, so now our squash is cut into fry shape. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take some cornstarch, 3 tablespoons, and we're gonna sprinkle it over to coat the fries. So now I'm just gonna go in with my hands. You can go in with some tongs. An apron might be good at this point if you're wearing nice clothes. And we're just gonna coat them. And this is gonna help make them a little more crispy. Should have got a bigger bowl, but that's okay. And so if you have a lot of extra cornstarch left over, like floating in the bottom of your bowl, you could put these in a colander and rinse out, shake off the extra cornstarch. That's always an option too. So I only have a small colander that's clean, but I'm just gonna do this over the sink and I'm just gonna shake it. And this is just gonna get off any excess that's not stuck. And then I'm gonna put it in a new bowl. And so the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add our olive oil and our spices to the fries. We're gonna mix them up. And again, those spices, you can adjust as you see fit to fit what you have. If you have fresh herbs, you could always use those. And as you can see, like the ones at the bottom, they are really coated, so we definitely want to get some of that extra off before we eat them. So we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of olive oil as well. We're gonna drizzle that over. Wow, I had just the perfect amount. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt, some pepper, and I gave some measurements for the garlic powder and the thyme and the paprika on here, so feel free to use those if you'd like, or just eyeball it. Depending on the size of your squash too, you may need to adjust those measurements. And then once all of your spices are on, we can just mix it all up. And you can always add more olive oil if you feel like your fries are not getting coated enough. And so now that they're all mixed up, oops, you shouldn't really see much cornstarch anymore. The olive oil should pretty much take that color away. So as you can see, not white anymore. But everything is coated, so I'm going to line them on a baking sheet, cook them at 425 for about 30 minutes. At 15 minutes, I'm gonna take a spatula and flip them. So the fries baked for about 30 minutes. I would recommend checking them at about 25 because some of them I had cut thinner than others and they got a little bit darker, but they are still delicious. And so the last thing you need to do is wait for them to cool and you can serve them. And if you would like to use your favorite dip with them, that would taste great. If you're interested in learning how you can find the foods to make this dish from your local Ohio farmers, visit countrysidefoodandfarms.org. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed.